This is the performance review for the weekly reversion strategy for the week ending on July 4th. So let's start by inputting the balances. The starting balance was on Friday, June 27th. And the ending balance was July 4th. So I made a bit this week. The dollar gain was $162 and the percentage gain was plus 0.54%. And these were the 5 trades that we did. The first one was Abbvie. That was the best trade of the week, where it was up 3.75% within the portfolio. And that was at a 20% allocation. And here's the chart for Abbvie. So the weekly reversion strategy picked up on this dip here and bought here on Monday and sold here on Thursday at the end of the week. Over the long term, this is what Abbvie looks like. And the next trade was Berkshire Hathaway. That one was down a little bit, down negative 0.19% at a 20% allocation. And here's the chart of Berkshire. So we got in here after this dip and we sold here. And over the long term, here's how Berkshire Hathaway looks. Third trade was MO, which is Altria. There we made about 1.5% at a 20% allocation. And this was the dip. And this was the trade. And over the long term, here's the chart for Altria. It's going back to 1988 or 87. Okay, the next trade was Palantir. That was the worst trade of the week, down about 2.5%. But we only had a 14% allocation to Palantir because the stock is so volatile. It had a reduced exposure to it. And here's how the Palantir trade went. It picked up on this dip here in Palantir, bought here and sold here. And over the long term, well, the stock's only been around since 2020. This is how it's looked since then. The next trade is Tesla. And the stock was down 1.42% over the week, but we only had a 15% allocation to Tesla, also because it was a very volatile stock. It took a reduced exposure. And here's the trade. This is the dip that it picked up on, and this was the trade. And over the long term, Tesla looks like this. Let's go ahead and put the ending balance into the cumulative tab. And this is how the equity curve looks so far, the cumulative profit curve. This is starting in June of 2024, so about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And the thick yellow line is showing the cumulative equity of the current version of the system, whereas the gray line is the actual account cumulative P&L, which includes the current version and the initial version of the strategy. And let's also look at the equity curve over the long term. So over the long term, this is going back to 1994. The back test here shows that weekly reversion has an expected annualized return of about 20% compared to the S&P's annualized return of 8.6. And year to date, or month to date, the strategy is up 0.4%, and that puts the strategy up 14.7% positive year to date. And the equity curve is here. Purple line is the equity curve of weekly reversion, and the gray line is the benchmark S&P 500. So that's the performance summary for Weekly Reversion for the week ending July 4th. If you want to learn more about Weekly Reversion, please visit my website at returnstream.com. Link is below. Thank you.